this past month, you could be like, yeah, I'm an Olympian now. So what's up, guys?
Yeah, that would be
Respect
cool.
Me.
Yeah,
How long have you been waiting to hear Olympian Ethan Cepuran?
Like since I was a kid. I don't know. It's just, we've known each other since elementary school. And
Yeah.
so it was always just like a joke, like not like a joke, but being like, oh yeah, like going to the Olympics someday. And now it's like, oh wait, you're actually going to the Olympics. I'm like, it's just like that same like internal like dialogue. I'm just like, wow, like it's actually like happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you a little starstruck? Do you feel a little imposter syndrome, or is this just this was always meant to be?
Like a bit of both, because the first few days I was just like, oh yeah, like wouldn't it be cool to go to the Olympics? Like still like, oh, like I hope they go. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going. Like that's awesome. Like that's just cool. Like it's not just like, oh yeah, like the entire 4 years, like I knew I could get here and just like make the step, but actually making it happen is just a whole nother level.
Has it been
just being like, it's just like me. It's just crazy to be like, oh wow, like it's actually happening, because you never think of things like always happening. You dream of them, but you never like fully envision them happening sometimes. And it's just like, wow, like
did the success that you've had over the past few years, and especially the past month, has it just been a massive boost to your confidence? Are you still feeling, I'm sure every athlete, every artist has that feeling of doubt, like they're not good enough in certain moments, or maybe this isn't my spot. Has that subsided, or is it still there?
It actually, like really like the course of the past season, or just making like small steps just consistently has like kind of like helped subside that. So like by the time I got to trials, like I knew like I can be an Olympian today. Like I can make this happen. And then it does feel like a little imposter syndrome, where I'm just like, oh, like this person could do that, or this person, I'm like not as good as this person in the past or whatever. That doesn't really matter, because all that matters is like people I'm racing today. Like, me like racing myself because it's a time trial event. And it's just weird to think about, because, I've been thinking about it since I was a kid, and now it's here. It's like, wow, like that's just, it's just one of like the coolest feelings or like realizations, just like, oh wow, like it's true.
Wow. Why don't you explain speed skating, kind of the sport of it, because it is a little bit of a niche, right? Kind of explain. I know there's different versions, short track, long track. Just kind of give a little background as to what you're particularly competing in, and maybe a little bit like how people can watch you and follow you.
Okay, so like speed skating is done on a 400-meter oval, where like there's an inside lane and an outside lane. So every lap you switch lanes on the backstretch, which is just the opposite side of like the finishing straight where each of the races ends. And distances go from.
Why do you switch sides?
So the two corners are just, so the lanes, just the radiuses of the corners. So like one corner, like the inside lane has a shorter radius, so you go a shorter distance.
Sure.
And then, it's just to like keep it more even, because you just building speed on the inner corner is easier versus on the outer. Like you can lean more and such. So it just gives everybody an inner corner and an outer corner each lap.
Okay.
And because it just, I think it just makes it easier for like starting too, because I believe the inner track is like 385 meters, and then the outer track is 415.
Okay.
So, I don't know exactly. It would just be a weird game of cat and mouse for like the 5K or like 500 if somebody was starting like 50 meters ahead of you, just to go the same. I
Gotcha.
mean, you're going the same distance, so theoretically it shouldn't matter, but it can just be a little weird. It keeps everybody a lot closer together in the race,
Because
starting wise.
I do have a background in running, and so what for the 5,000 meters
Mhm.
of running, there'll be like a waterfall start or like a staggered start.
Yeah.
So, but that will only go in an event as long as the 5K through the first turn. So it's
Mhm.
only like 10 meters or 15 meters, right?
Yeah.
So, what is there a reason why speed skating can't do that? Is you said it's the time? Is it you don't want to be obstructed by the other skaters if you guys are in the same
Yeah.
lane and use drafting and what?
Yeah. So pretty much, I mean, it's just like time trial, like you're not supposed to, you can draft on the backstretch if a crossover is lucky enough. So if somebody comes out in front of you, you can just like slingshot,
Oh,
like
you
use
can do
them.
that.
Oh yeah, it's a big advantage to be able to do that. It's just free, easy speed. Just think, I don't know if you like biking, if you're ever behind somebody, it feels like you almost just get like sucked in behind them,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just easy speed. Like just
It's just
Talladega Nights,
free.
like slingshot
Yeah.
engaged,
Shake and
like,
bake, baby.
yeah, a little shake and bake action.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, like 5K, you cross lanes 12 times, I believe, because
Mm,
12, it's 12 and a half laps. I think it's 5K. Yeah, it makes sense. 12 and a half laps on running two. But since it's a time trial, like there is a mass start event. So that's where it's a 16 lap event where everybody is on the line together, you're racing head to head. So it's just first person across the line wins. And then they have a few sprint points to decide like fourth through, I don't know, like eighth. And it's a weirdly complicated event, but the top three across the line in that win are like the medals. But so yeah, the time trialing is you're on your own for at least 300 of the 400 meters in your own lane. And then the crossover is the only part where, there's risk for impediment, really.
sure. And
Yeah.
so I watched you do the mass start event, and I believe you got second, right? At
Yeah.
US trials this year.
Mhm.
Pretty cool. And then
Yeah.
how did you fare in the time trial event?
So in the 5K, I won the 5K
You
by, I think,
won
0.04.
the United States of America 5K, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
got to be something else.
Yeah, no, that's actually like the craziest part because as a kid, like I don't know, watching like the 2014 trials, like I wasn't able to compete yet, was too young. And it's just like watching them being like, oh man, like wish I could be like that fast one day or such. And my teammate, Emery Lehman, I skated with him since I was a kid. He was always older. Just same club.
Mm-hmm.
And he made the 2014 team. I think he got second at those trials. And we all went faster, and those were held at altitude, which tends to be much faster than sea level. And this past trials, we all went faster than they did in 2014.
Wow.
Which was kind of like mind blowing because I was just like, wow, like, it's just one of like those things where you don't think of yourself all that. I think of myself like highly, but not like, like I'm like this good or whatever. Like I might not be as good as them, but it's just a cool realization being like, oh, like, I'm like kind of at that level.
Dang,
To be able
you
to
might
like
be
do
at
that.
that level, dude. You might just be at that level.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people learned about speed skating or got popularized in the United States from Apollo Ono, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for
Is
sure.
he the Michael Phelps of speed skating?
It's hard to say because Paul was an amazing skater from 2002 to 2010. I think in 3 Olympics he won 8 medals, like 2 of them being gold. So speed skating, there's only 4 events for short track, or there were only 4 events for him. And so out of 12 events he competed in, he won 8 medals.
Wow.
So that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. And yeah. So I think he could be, but at the same time, he's not like, I mean, Michael Phelps is just dominant in
Different,
everything
yeah.
that he did. And I mean, short track is a little bit easier to possibly be a little bit better at everything because it's only ranges from 500 meters to 1500 meters. And
Mm,
then there is still like for the men, it's a 5,000 meter relay. And then I believe they're adding a mixed gender relay. So like there's 2 men, 2 women for this games. But I mean, it's not a stretch to say he's one of the best of all times. I mean,
sure.
it's at all. I mean, there's plenty, of South Korean skaters like Victor An. I mean, I think he's won 10 Olympic medals,
Wow.
multiple gold in like the same time period or from like 2006 to 2014. And yeah, it's hard to say who's the best. From era to era, I think Apollo was possibly like the best in his era. But I mean, the level of short track has just risen so much where you have no idea who's going to win going to the line. And there could possibly be 5 best skaters in the world.
Wow. Well, so Apollo Ono was short track, which is different than what you're doing.
Yeah.
Significantly shorter track. What is the difference in the athletes that are racing short track versus the athletes that are racing long track? Is it sort of like sprinters versus distance runners?
A little bit. So, short trackers tend to be just not quite as tall. Like there are a few taller guys that are just mobile enough or flexible enough to be low enough to hold the corners and such. I did short track. Raced it until I was like 16 or 17 just for fun because
Mm,
it's great training. Like we still train short track in the summers when we don't have long track ice. And they're absolutely amazing athletes. It's just insane. You look at them, you're just like, oh, that's not real. Because just their hips are like less than a foot off the ice, and you're just like,
really?
yeah, you're just throwing down hard pivots, going almost like 35 miles an hour around. I don't know how much of a corner. Like it's insane. It's an absolute ton of fun to watch. I was lucky enough to be able to watch the Olympic trials like in person here. So they tend to be a little bit smaller. Well, not necessarily lighter or leaner, but Apollo was just a built athlete. Like you could tell that man to do anything and he would get it done. But so it's not like sprinting, like you got to have some snap to be able to do short track a bit more because it's really only 500 meters to 1500 meters. So your longest event is only like 2 minutes and 15 seconds for the top guys. And if it's slower like time than that, it really comes down to like 8 laps at the end of sprinting. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
So short track's also on a 111-meter track. So like a lap on short track is different than a lap on long track.
Okay.
So a 1500 is like 13 and a half laps on short track. And 1,000 is 9. A 500 is 4.5. Yeah. It's like, 500 is, yeah, they're just going crazy.
And so you mentioned that these guys' hips are a foot off the ice. Number one, how do you build that strength? What are you doing to be able to like support your entire body weight on like your hip flexor or whatever those hip exterior hip muscles are? And then, yeah.
Yeah. It's all, like the speed that you're going, like, the faster you go, obviously, like the more like your blades kind of push you back. So just like the angle, so like, the more angle you create, the more the possibility that the ice can push you back more. So that's why like being low can be like such an important factor because then it's just being able to hold it just becomes that much easier. It takes a ton of strength. Like I can be like, oh yeah, I'm low, but then they're still just far lower than I am.
Now, are you training this at the Olympic like at the Olympic centers or your training places, are you doing strength training to be able to do this, or is it more something you just naturally acquire from just
Oh,
school?
I mean, yeah. So like we call it Dryland. I mean, tons of people like hockey players also call it Dryland and such, but Dryland where it's just, I mean, tons of different various exercises. They're like trying to mimic, you're basically trying to mimic how you push on ice, but on land, it can, I mean, for at least long track, I mean, we do a lot of jumps, like single leg jumps, like leg to leg, or like we call it turntable, where you attach, it's like a giant rubber band or giant rubber bands around like your waist. Like, like you have a belt, attach it to the belt, like wrap it around. And then, I mean, you lean that way, or you attach, it's basically a seat or a seat belt to like a pole. And then you just mimic the angles and such. And you just, short trackers just rep stuff out like crazy.
Jesus.
It's, yeah, they're insane.
I do remember seeing you just about every summer at our high school, like running track, and you guys would be doing jumpy things, leggy jumpy things, and we'd be going for a run. And I don't know, it was cool to see you kind of like every year I'd be like, I wonder if that kid's still doing it. And you were still doing it. And I just see you out there going and going. How many hours a week are you spending on Dryland doing workouts?
I mean, overall, I mean, working out is like 6 or 7 hours a day that we are.
You're working
like
out
doing
6 to 7 hours a day.
Yeah, like 3 to 4 hours. And like, I mean, if we do ice in the morning, that ends up about being 4 hours between, I mean, warm up, I mean, on ice can be about 1.5 to 2 hours, then cool down with Dryland afterwards, go home, I mean, hopefully back home around like 12:30, hop on the bike around 3 for like 2 to 3 hours on the bike.
2 to 3 hours on the bike?
Yeah, usually more like, I don't, it might sound like an exaggeration, but it's sadly not.
Really?
Just,
what are you doing? Are you watching Netflix during this? Or are you just with your boys, or are you just?
I mean, it kind of depends. Like the past few weeks, we haven't really everybody's been spacing out, but in the summer, I mean, it's a bit nicer to ride outside, and we don't have any bike intervals or blocks. It's a bit easier to do like those harder efforts on a trainer when you can control them.
Yes.
So and instead of relying on a hill, because all of a sudden, if you're going way harder one day, and you run out of hill, I mean, who knows? It can be a little bit harder to plan, and it's just much more just consistent.
Yeah. In high school, from running, I was injured for like 3 years on and off, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent way, way, way too many hours on the bike trainer in the weight room.
Yeah.
Oh man, just like PTSD from that, dude.
It can be kind of depressing some days. I mean, it's really nice when you feel good. And I mean, it's when you have bike blocks and such, part of it is warming up for that. You're all right, I'm doing 5 minutes, just easy spin to get into the groove. And it's all right, this many minutes, just ramping up, a few warm up sprints. And it's all right, ready to go. Boom, there's 35 minutes done or 40 minutes done.
Sure.
Then you got your blocks, which are, I mean, hard efforts generally. And then you got rest time. So with blocks, the ride can go by pretty quick just because you're more so focused just on the workout. But if it's just a straight zone 1 ride or zone 2 ride, it can go by really slow on the trainer for sure. That's when it's all right. I try to make it an hour without really watching anything or possibly just without music, just to be all right, I can do an hour being completely bored out of my mind. Just not a thought. And I'm all right, I can do 2 more hours easy.
Sure. I've always found that also is trying to not use the crutch of the podcast or the music or the TV show, because when you get to the start line, you don't have a podcast or a TV show And if you're like, yeah, dude, I rode the bike for 3 hours, like 5 days a week for the
Yeah.
last 5 years, I can do anything, bro.
I can do anything for like 12 minutes. Like
Yeah.
that's easy. Like that's it. Like,
That's what I
yeah,
find a lot of Olympians say in endurance sport is, oh yeah, the training is harder than the actual race. Like the race
yeah,
is just where you
yeah,
execute, but the training is the mental preparation and also like deterioration in a way
yeah.
where
It
you're
can,
just grinding. Then you get to the race and you're like, ah, dude, I've skated 1,000 hours in the past couple of months. I can go and do it for 12 minutes.
yeah, exactly. Like that's actually like the exact thought process I've been like having this year. I'm like, this is it. Like a 5K. The 5K on speed skating is, a long race technically, but it's really, in reality, it's just over 6 minutes. Like
Mm.
6 minutes, like if you're on the couch, 6 minutes goes by so fast. Like that's it. Even, a 10K. So like long track goes like 500 meters up to a 10K.
Mm-hmm.
And the 10K still is only 13 minutes. It's like, it can be extremely boring while like you're out there, but that's where just like the ability to just like mentally turn off and just rely on like what you're feeling. Like, just like, how am I like, just like cues into the ice being like, all right, like this feels right. We're just going to keep doing this and just not even thinking like, what, what split am I doing? Like, this just feels like, it's just internal knowing like what you're capable of and being like, okay, I know I can hold this, like whether I'm on a fast track, like if I just push this hard and such. It can be a little weird, but it works somehow.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
How much of the sport is still like promoting yourself? Like, is that a large part? Like, are you trying to get brand deals, or is that more still the upper echelon of the sport? And like, how are you promoting yourself on social media or in other aspects?
So, like, I'm not like super crazy on social media. Like, I've gotten a little bit better, but especially just with like, qualifying for the games and such.
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry. Oh, there's been a few, just random DMs being like, oh, like promote this or such. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, haven't had that before, but
Wow.
definitely still it's, the upper echelon of the sport definitely work more with sponsors than we do. We have great, like some like the upper people or upper athletes have relationships with like Polar, Under Armour and such. And Under Armour sponsors are like the US speed skating team. So it's not sponsored by them, but still get stuff from them. And so, I guess maybe from here on out, might try a little bit harder to, promote and such. Cause for us, the Olympics is like the big thing. Cause
Yes.
it's easily the most recognizable, achievement, or just like being like, oh, like this, like, it's just much more distinguishable than saying like, oh, I've been to a world championships.
Yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
there's kind of multiple tiers to world championships and such. You can be like, oh, junior world championships, or just like world all around championships, or world single distance championships. It can be just
Too much
confusing.
in weird places. They got weird names.
Yeah.
People
And
don't
it's
know what
just,
it is.
yeah, it's not as promoted with like media and such. Like there's just a much bigger interest in the Olympics. So,
Yes.
most sponsors come on like for higher athletes, like the year before the Olympics or the year of the Olympics. So I
So
think it's definitely,
are
oh,
people only getting brand deals during Olympic years and then they just kind of goes quiet because it's not as relevant?
yes and no. There's definitely many more brand deals for people during that year. And then there's still like a few, I guess, more, I don't know, I want to say more reliable, but more just, I mean, just companies that are a bit more consistent with athletes,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like they directly relate to them, like USANA, like vitamins. and whatever. Like, I mean, they're just a health and nutrition company that's based here in Utah. Like, and like they do stuff all over the world and such. But like they sponsor quite a few athletes out of US speed skating and just around the area. Because I mean, people use them. Like they sponsor stuff at the park. Like if they sponsor like teams into like the teams themselves, like they'll end up sponsoring some of the athletes as well, or like KT Tape, Toyota.
That's awesome, man. I would say, and you know, what do I know? But this is a very, very big moment for your career. And I know you need to focus on what your job is at this moment. But this is a huge spotlight to promote yourself and bring that social media attention. And you could set up brand deals that, you know, I don't know how long you're planning to be speed skating. So, but I'd guess it'd be a while longer, and you could set up your life, man. And it's a pretty cool opportunity, right?
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, it's crazy to think about. You're just like, oh, wow, like these people have been in my position before. Like, look what they've gotten. Like, I mean, it's just all about opportunity and just being like taking advantage of opportunity when you can. I mean, I'm just grateful to be here and being like, oh, wow, like just to be able to call myself an Olympian is just, I mean, that's the highlight of everything. And I mean, if anything else comes my way, I mean, I would gladly take it.
Wow. That's humbling, man. I like it. It's great to see that it feels very much that the motivation is coming intrinsically, and that feels like when you say like, oh, I just like that I can call myself an Olympian, it just feels like it's been a part of you for so long, and you've kind of accomplished this within yourself. And it's not, oh, you need to go do that, you need to be good at this. It's like, I need to get this so I can pay this. Or
I mean, it's such like just obviously, it's a journey for a ton of people, like all people involved. But I mean, it's definitely just personal, like self journey. Absolutely. Because I mean, you know, as an athlete, there's times where you just don't feel like doing anything. And you're just like, it's so easy to like get down or just knocked out and just be like, yeah, that could be it. I don't care. Like, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, screw it. This is over. Like, that's it. And being able to like bring yourself back. And I mean, I think just the biggest thing is to be able to enjoy your sport. And I mean, that's just where I've seen the most progress the past 2 years. Cause I mean, there absolutely was a time period where I just felt like not doing what I'm doing right now. And I was just like, you know what? This just doesn't seem worth it at all. Like, I'm not happy. Like, I feel like I'm not making anybody else happy. And I mean, it's just finding ways to enjoy it. I mean, it honestly, like for me, I got concussed last summer, just like an inline crash training. And I was just like, that was kind of a moment where I was just like, this is a little bit too much, like just committed too much to not enjoy it. And I don't know if it was just like literally me hitting my head and then all of a sudden I was happy, or like what, or I was just like, you know what, we just got to take a different approach and just not be, be serious and committed, but not be just and total. Like, I'm the only thing that being a speed skater isn't the only thing that makes me a person here.
100%.
Like, you know, like there's plenty of other factors in life where you can enjoy things. And I mean, keeping those involved is just massive.
Now, what are you enjoying outside of skating?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Right now it's a little hard just with COVID and everything. Cause I've pretty much just been locked down my apartment. I mean, Utah, living Park City is just awesome. I mean, skiing, like can just walk up the park, see alpine skiers or ski, like, what was it? Aerial skiers just doing their things. And it's just, enjoying nature here is just awesome. I mean, being able to go fishing whenever, like do a hike, go up to like a top or just go to a hidden lake, catch some trout, or just, I don't know, just having a great team can hang out with, being like, oh, like, what do you think of this? Like, just, I don't know, just enjoying whatever the day brings, like whenever I can.
Are you dating right now?
I am. I have a
Yeah.
girlfriend of 3 years. Yeah. Anna.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. Is it
Yeah.
from Utah or back in Illinois?
We started dating back when I lived in Wisconsin in
Wisconsin?
2019.
You
Yeah,
lived in Wisconsin in 2019?
I did.
What the
Yeah, moved to
heck?
Milwaukee. Yeah.
Why?
Well, that's where the other
That's where the
rink
rink
is.
is.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
so like all like I used to drive up to Wisconsin at like after high school, or I'll drive up to Milwaukee after high school. I mean Monday, Wednesday, Friday, even through
You would
middle school.
drive to Milwaukee after high school?
Yeah.
Dog, that's like 90 minutes each way. Or
Yeah,
probably,
like
yeah.
90, hour 45. It's a
Oh
little
my
slower day.
God, bro. And
But that's
so
like
what
that's
time would practice be at?
about like 4:30.
So what time are you getting home at? Like 10?
Yeah, usually around
Jesus,
10.
bro. So
That,
you go to
those were
school
like
from 7 a.m. You're booked 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then you have to get 10 hours of sleep. That's not even enough hours in the day.
yeah,
That's
no,
crazy.
I mean, I definitely didn't sleep enough in high school until like this year. I didn't realize like how much you really needed sleep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just massive, especially now. Like, I'm not taking any classes this semester. So, I've just been like going to bed like before 10. I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, I didn't realize what I was missing.
I mean, I don't mean to call
But
you out, but you did answer my text message. It was probably like 11:30 or
yeah,
something.
I was up a little bit later last night. I was like, oh,
Ooh.
it's an off day. I was just like, oh, shoot. But yeah, I mean, like those drives to Milwaukee, like those were some of the most fun times though, because I mean, everybody that was going up from Illinois, like we would carpool. Like
Uh,
one of my buds from then, like he also qualified for this team, and we're just like, we're actually going. Like this is crazy. Like we were like, he got the official word yesterday, and we were just
oh, the
like freaking
official
out.
word.
Yeah, so I mean, the only the IOC is weird, is in you can only have so many Olympians per sport like go in, because I think it's room at the village. Like you can't
Gotcha.
have too many people. So he like one of his spot like his so he qualified in the 500, and he was in like the bottom few spots, and the IOC had to cut 20 people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, or around 20. So the thing is, it didn't consider people that or countries that weren't sending a full quota. So countries like Germany, like you have to have super strict qualification standards. Like you have to be top 12 in the world like twice at World Cups and
Jesus.
such. Out of 4 World Cups, you got to finish like top 12 or top 20 or something. I don't know. It's a little weird. I don't know them exactly. So, I mean, it could be worse for you know, depending on if you're skating for another country. But
Mm.
yeah, there's
This
just lots of weird rules and just cuts to like get smaller countries in and such. But it's a whole kind of mess that nobody really understood. And we were just like,
mm,
we just got to skate to get this
gotta
done.
skate, bro.
Yeah.
So while you're traveling, how does the expenses work? Are you just taking Daddy America's credit card and you're just kind of doing whatever as you travel to Beijing? And when are you
Oh,
leaving?
yeah. So I leave. We go to team processing in LA on the 25th. So in like 5
Holy
days.
shit, bro.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
so soon. Oh
Yeah.
my
I
God.
was up a little late last night too. I was like, oh man, I got so much to pack. Like, oh boy, like this
Oh
isn't good.
God. How
Yeah.
do
I
you
was like,
get
all
your
right,
equipment there
like to Beijing or just like to
to
the airport.
Beijing? Either.
So we fly to LA, like it's just a regular flight. I don't know. I mean, you got to bring like pack the bike box, because I mean we still like you almost have to just like we ride our bike as much as we skate, pretty
So
much,
you have to
just
bring an
because.
elliptical bike?
No, like a road bike
You
that you
bring
like
the
you.
Oh, you put the spinny thing on.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you put it.
you're bringing a road bike to China. That's great. That's
Yeah,
got to
then
be a
you put it on.
debacle.
Yeah, I mean it kind of. I mean you just get used to packing it at a certain point. It's just, yeah, I mean, just taking it apart can be kind of a pain, but it is what it is. It's what you do. Because I mean, we like when you warm up on your bike, unless you run, but most people warm up on the bike. And yeah, I mean, just something that it's something you can be consistent with, at least for us. Like,
Mm,
I mean, as an athlete too, like just changing something up, if you maybe a different pair of shoes or something, like all of a sudden your knee hurts and you're just like, oh, that's not good.
that's not it.
Especially, yeah, it's especially, I mean, if you're under stress, it's just like your body does weird things under stress. So keeping things as consistent as you can is a big thing.
And your mind does weird things too. You
Yeah,
start
you're
saying,
just like,
"Oh, my knee hurt a little bit. I need to change everything. This is a
yeah,
shit show."
yeah, that's exactly.
So you're going to
So,
LA on the 25th, and then what's the process after that?
I think we do team processing the 26th. Then we have to have everything packed up that night for the flight 27th in the morning to go to Beijing.
Wow. And then you move into the athlete village.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's going to be pretty crazy to just see all the people
Yeah.
you've been competing against or dreaming of competing against for so many years, just kind of
Yeah.
chilling, walking around. What is
Yeah.
what's one sport other than speed skating you're not going to miss in these games?
Oh, I mean, like short track. I mean, it's been a little weird for like if we'll be able to go watch other events. So I
Mm,
think my two events are in the first, or at least like I have 5Ks the second day of the games, and then the team pursuits day 9 and 11. So there's still going to be a few days afterwards, but I'm not sure what else is going on like around like Beijing because there's kind of like three campuses
mm,
for everything. So like the one other campus, I believe, for like bobsled, luge, skeleton is like, I don't know, 40 miles away. And then skiing is like 120 miles away.
wow.
Yeah. Or like
Wow.
100. So it's not like all like super just like bunched together. It can be a little bit spread out, but I mean, I'm here, like we'll have a live feed back to like the Olympic Village, like in our like dorm rooms and such. So
That's really cool. What have you
just
heard about what the Olympic Village is going to be like? Are you didn't in Tokyo, didn't they have like the cardboard beds? Are you guys rocking those
yeah,
also?
I don't think they're cardboard beds, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, you never know until you get there. It's kind of like the scary thing about travel. During World Cups this past fall, we when we were in Norway, we so like most you end up having a roommate for the trip unless it's just with COVID, like they tried to have individual rooms if possible, but there just wasn't enough room or a hotel
Mm.
room. So me and my roommate, I mean, we've been teammates for years now, but we walked into our room and it was only one bed, like one
Oh.
like a queen size bed. And we were just like, like we don't hate each other at all, but we were just like we were just like we don't think we could do this for like a week because
Oh,
we
it
were
was a
trying.
week.
Yeah, we were
That's
just like
such a different point.
we were just like we don't know about this, and everybody was like, oh, it'll be fine. And I mean, we were able to separate like the bed. It was like two like I don't know smaller frames put together with like a bigger mattress on top. So I mean, we were able to
Mm.
I don't know sneak uh a cot mattress into our room. So like for like the other person, but just our bed situation was just a little weird. But it's just things like that where you're just like, yeah, uh-huh. And like we ended up going down to like the hotel like desk and they were just like, oh yeah, that's for two people. And we were like, well, are you sure? Like it that week we were doing like a 10K, and with how the qualification was, like our own US Olympic qualifications were, like we could have possibly qualified in Norway before Olympic trials even happened. So that's why we were just like, I mean, we're just trying to make sure like we slept good and like, I mean, just
Mm.
kept everything, normal, that we weren't just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I mean, somebody moves around in their sleep and it's just like, you don't want to hit them to wake them up, but it's just like,
You don't want to ruin their 10K. Jeez.
yeah, exactly. Like it's just lots
Man,
of uncertainty. But I've heard everybody gets their own room, or at least like in an apartment, everybody gets their own room or bed. So that's good.
that's good. I'm glad that they're doing that for you guys.
Yeah.
And
It's little things like that.
what, so you're living in Park City.
Yeah.
Why did you move out there? What was the main attraction? Was it just that there's great facilities? Is it the mountains? Is it?
Yeah. So US speed skating is based out of Salt Lake City, or like the Oval in Salt
Ah,
Lake. So, I got an offer to join the national team in 2019, but that was my final year of being a junior. So, I decided to stick with my brother as my coach that final year because, I was getting stronger and like there just wasn't much reason to move out here yet. And then after that season, like we decided, it's probably best for me to like move out here, have a few more like distance related teammates and such. So, it just made sense for like a team aspect because, like friend Austin, like he just qualified in the 500. Like we would skate together, but he's doing the 500 and 1,000. We're focusing on that. I'm more 5K, like
sure.
1,500 type of thing. So, we could train together, and we had a few other guys and such, but it definitely made sense to come out here. Try something new and just see if it worked, see if I liked it. Because, if that was going to end up being like my future in the sport, is like I was going to have to join the national team at some point. So,
Sweet.
yeah. But facilities are nice. I guess a little bit more direct support and such. But yeah, Milwaukee is still home because I skated there from when I was a kid I trained there from when I was a kid to, I was after high school. So
you say your brother was your coach, and I do remember seeing him or like hearing about, I don't know. I remember that being part of the picture. And then your dad, I think, is involved also.
yeah.
Right. How's that family situation growing up with a bunch of athletes doing the same thing? Has it been on stress? Has it been generally good? Pressure?
It's good. Like there's always pressure and such. It's gotten like much better. Like my parents just care like, do you enjoy what you're doing right now? So that definitely makes things
really
a lot easier. Yeah. There's always, growing up, you're just like, oh, like I got to do this. A lot of the pressure like kind of comes from like within sometimes too. Obviously like there's some outward pressure as well, but I think it was good because it definitely helped me get better. But after a certain point, I definitely had to move on and, just try something else.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. What are you working on outside of speed skating? Like, you have a free day like today, other than doing my podcast. Like, what are you spending your time in? Do you have any other side projects? Do you like just doing puzzles or
like
you guys starting a business, or you got anything else that you're working on?
Nothing business related. If I was taking class right now, I would have probably be doing that. Mechanical engineering so far.
So far.
Some form of engineering is what I'm looking at.
Why are you inclined to that?
Just, I don't know. I've just enjoyed like numbers. Calc. I've enjoyed calc, physics, even like chem now. I've just been like, oh wow, this is just cool stuff.
This is the stuff.
I don't know. Yeah. Or I don't know. I thought about just aerodynamics and such. Just it's cool. Like we get to work with people and like wind tunnels and such to like be like, all right, like what's faster, like this or like that, like body position, or just like our skin suits themselves. Like those are tested a ton. So it's cool to just talk to people and in that field and just see like there's just so much like is it trial and error. You can just be like, all right, let's try this, so try that, and it's just something that I don't know, you can see just kind of direct results with.
Interesting. How much of a technological advancement has there been since you started skating that you've noticed? Like, is that part of the reason you guys are going faster and faster and faster, or is just
definitely a little bit. So like I guess like modern era of speed skating, and it started in like 2002 because I mean there's just like mechanical advantage with like the flap skate. So that's where like the back hinge of your skate carries off. Actually, I can just
Go bring it up for us.
Like the back end of your skate like comes undone.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you can see just like two springs there. So like, I mean, you still have to push with everything. It's not like a bike where you have like gear ratios and such, but it just allows for a little bit longer push. So
wait, explain this. Bring it closer again. I want to see this.
So you can see, I mean, like boot, bridge, blade, and just like springs so the springs are like what cause like the blade to come back and such. But so like as you push, like you kind of start like pushing like where like midfoot, and then as you come up, like move, as you like start to like push out, the spring starts to open up. So you have a little bit of a longer push.
So your skate stays on the ice the entire time, basically, but you're allowed
for
to start taking your foot
longer.
Off. Wow. Yeah. The intricacies, man. The intricacies.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think the world of speed skating needs to do to promote their sport more to kids or get more of an involvement in it?
I mean, I think short track is just a great way to do it. I mean, you see like long track definitely has much fewer numbers. It's not like the level of competition is as high because it's extremely high because the best people just continue to get better and such. I mean, everybody continues just to push it forward. I mean, it's just, you figure out new training strategies and such, but I mean, short track is just, you can do it on a hockey rink, it's just racing. You can just be like, oh, like set a few cones out. Doesn't for kids, it doesn't have to be an exact track, like as long as like they're skating, having fun and like enjoying it, like that's the biggest thing. And I mean, even like, I think outdoor skating is a big part, like Lake Ellyn, they used to have just not random, but like every Saturday morning, kids don't have schools. Like they would have many, like just pack races to just, get kids involved. And like, hopefully a few of the kids would like come in, like join like Glen Ellyn speed skating club and such. That's cool. I mean, it's just, you just got to get kids like involved. And I mean, it definitely is a bit more of an expensive sport, just at least as like once you get older, because I mean, it's not, especially just like equipment, like, I don't know how many pairs of blades I've got in case like one pair just like completely strip an edge and such. But I mean, as you're growing up, it's just like shoe sizes, like, all of a sudden, like a kid doesn't have like boots that fit anymore. You're like, that's not good. Like they're just too small. And it's like, oh, looks like we got to buy another pair. Like it's just making that transition easier to like allow them to keep skating with like possibly what they have. And I mean, like there are a few pairs of boots that actually like, I don't know, you just take like an Allen wrench and like it increases in size. Like
really?
Yeah, it's really weird. Like the first time I saw these was like really trippy because I don't know. When I lived in Milwaukee, I used to teach learn to skate at the Pettit, and I mean we'd have like two classes, like plenty of skates there because just over the years of accumulation and support from just the Pettit or USS, and like it's, I don't know, like there would be like a 6 or 7 year old and like the same pair of skates as like somebody that was a few years older, and it was just like, how does that make sense? And then I was just like, oh, okay, like somebody like or I guess my boss or person in charge would be like, oh no, like just do this. I was like, oh, like that's cool. Like, yeah, it's just about getting kids to enjoy skating and get into the sport.
It's interesting that us as humans, we have such an emphasis on things that are very short. I mean, yeah, TikTok, but
yeah, oh man,
even in skating or running or just like basketball, football, like everything's very fast, quick. And
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny that we value it so much, and it's kind of like it's manly to be really fast at short things.
Yeah.
Like the 100-meter dash, like Usain Bolt is the biggest
Usain Bolt
name
is just
in the world in sports kind of thing. And because it's like the 100-meter dash is the most iconic human event, probably, right?
Yeah. You're just like,
Right?
I mean, it's sad because I mean, track and field is just a great sport to watch. Like, I think I watched most things this past summer games. And I mean, if you ask people who did like, who won this event or who won this event, like, you just be like, I have no idea. Like, I watched and I'm just trying to remember. I'm like, who won the 800 or who won like the 200? It's like, I don't know.
But
like,
I think it's so interesting how much of an emphasis there is on it, even though humans just flat suck at running short distances. Or like our speed, like, dude, the average person is losing to a squirrel hands down in a 100-meter race. Hands down. Humans are losing to 90% of animals, at least hands. Anything you see around a rabbit, a deer, a squirrel, a chipmunk, your dog, your cat, everything is beating you things are probably beating Usain Bolt in a 100-meter race. And yet it's the biggest thing in the world, even though humans are like one of like the top 2 or 3 animals in the entire world at endurance. Like,
I mean,
it's crazy because the humans evolved like 100,000 years ago, whatever, before we had capable of tools. The way we would hunt things was called like endurance hunting. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah.
And so what we would do is we would see an animal, we would be in a pack of like 10 guys, and we would just run this animal down until it died of exhaustion. That's how good our endurance is.
Like,
and it would drop dead,
crazy.
And then you just like slit its throat or something with like stone.
Think about an Ironman. It's just like you're like, was it a 2-mile swim, like 110-mile bike ride or 120-mile bike ride, and then a marathon. Like, I mean, it's a huge stretch for people, but people don't realize their potential to be able to do that. Exactly. It's not, I mean, you have to go a lot easier than you think, I mean, I've done similar length bike ride before. And I mean, you just kind of, you're still there. You just like get yourself into the zone and just like, like you're going easy, but you're going hard with time. And I mean, it's just like 6 hours later, you're just like, oh, wow, I did that. Like, cool. And it's just like, I mean, you can totally see just how like amazing like human body is. It's just like, if you do everything right, you can just keep going.
It just goes. That's what I've noticed is and this goes to probably anyone, but I think I am definitely advantaged just like biologically or something in my, growing up that I have very good endurance. But what I've noticed is like you can kind of do, if you're at a mild intensity, if you don't go over that red line, you can just do that as long as you're fueling the entire time. You can just go. I mean, like you don't have to stop.
Such a big part of it.
Like, I would go like went for, 100-mile bike ride or whatever. Like as long as you're just like you're going to be surprised how much you have to, like, you have to eat 20,000 calories or whatever just to like be able to do it. Like I'm talking like 5 bananas an hour or whatever it is.
But you can do it.
As long as you can stomach it, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. I wanted to bring it back is I think one of the only animals in the world that is better at endurance than us are sled dogs, basically. And which so I was in Alaska last March, and my friend is Alaskan, met her in college. And so I went over to Anchorage, where she's from, which is it's interesting because so much of the population of Alaska is just in this one place, and everything else is literally just wilderness nature, right? And so in Alaska, they have dog sledding, and what they call the last great dog sled race, which is the Iditarod. Yes. And that is, do you know the story behind it? It's crazy.
No, I don't. So, I know the race, but
So like, okay, this is how my friend does it. Like Alaska looks like that,
Mhm.
like this is this part, and then these
Oh
are the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
islands. So
yeah.
like there's a peninsula right here, and this is kind of by Anchorage. It's about 100 miles south of Anchorage, and that point is called Seward, and it is the northernmost point in North America where ships can go in and out because it doesn't freeze over because it's too deep.
Mhm.
And so there's a town, and this is Alaska. This is massive. This is
Yeah.
1,000+ miles across. There's a town right here called Nome, Alaska, way over there. It doesn't have roads. There's no roads that connect to this town. In
Wow.
Alaska, there's like a lot of the places that are not right here don't have roads that attach to them. So you have to boat or fly in. And it's the only way to get there. And so this is 100 years ago. So they didn't have good technology for boating or
Yeah.
good technology for airplanes, and everything was frozen because it was the middle of winter. And so the town in Nome was having a like crisis pandemic, basically, where the entire town was about to get wiped out by this one disease. Forget what it was, but it was treatable. They just didn't have any medicine. And
Yeah.
so they had to ship to Seward down here because it was the only place they could get to. And the only way to get to Nome was by dog sled. So
Wow.
that's how the race started, is because they had to get from Seward to Nome in order to save the entire town from dying from this disease to give them medicine.
Wow. That's crazy.
900 or 1,000 miles, man.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that,
that's just across like wilderness too. I mean, it's
yeah,
just if
nothing.
you get stuck, like that's
And it's still
just
that
you're
today, which is the cool thing. Because you think about things that are 100 years old and you're like, well, today it would be a
I
little,
mean, it
no, it's
evolves.
not. It's not. Like there's no
No.
roads. There's
Yeah.
still not a single road. And they still run this race. And there's still like 50 or 100 teams that go out and try to finish the Iditarod race. And I was talking to my friend who lives in Alaska about it. And she's like, yeah, there's not really any safety with it. Like if you die, like you kind of die.
Is at your own risk. Like that, you
Yeah,
know what you're getting into.
because
Yeah.
how she said that they check to make people sure if people are okay is every so often there's a checkpoint, like if there's a little village somewhere, and if they get to a certain checkpoint and then the next checkpoint takes a little too long, they're like, huh. And then if it takes a
Huh.
little longer, they're like, and then if it takes
That's
like a
not
third
good.
bit too long, they're like, okay, let's send somebody out after them. And
Yeah.
it's like they could have been frozen like a day ago.
That, oh man. Well, like it's not, I mean, not nearly as long as I did a rod, but like in speed skating, like I don't know, Grand Tour race is called the Elfstedentocht. And so it's a Dutch thing. It's the 11 cities tour where I want to say it's like 120 miles of skating outdoors, like across like all the canals in the country. And like you basically go from like the bottom of the
Whoa.
country to the top of the country.
And
And
it's all
the thing is,
frozen
yeah, it's all frozen. The thing is, it hasn't
naturally.
happened. Yeah, yeah. Like all, I mean, Amsterdam and just, I mean, if you go to Amsterdam, like the whole city is just surrounded by canals, like through it and such. But like that's how the whole country is pretty much. Like the country is extremely flat, except for the bridges to get across, like the what is it, canals, or to get onto like the highways. And so the thing is, like, it takes it being really cold to run it. I think the last time it was ran was like 25 years ago or something. It hasn't been run since like the
Oh,
90s. And it's not like it was like happening every so often before that. But last year with COVID, all the canals actually froze, but they didn't run the race because of COVID purposes. And it was really sad because actually I was over there during like that time period for like
oh, you were in the Netherlands.
I was in the Netherlands for that, like, because we had the ISU International Skating Union set up a World Cup bubble where like everybody would come into Herenveen, which is one of like the nicest rinks in the world, or at least just like facilities. And they did like 2 World Cups, a rest week, and then World Championships. So it was like 4 weeks in total, and they were just like, I mean, yeah. So we ever like all international skaters were there, like all international skaters were just like, it was going on, like everything froze during the weekend of World Championships.
Wow.
And everybody was like, it might be worth just skipping this because like this might not happen again for like another like 30 years.
It could maybe never happen again at
Yeah,
this point,
exactly. It
man.
might never happen again.
When you're talking
And
30 years, man.
yeah, so they ended up not having it. I don't know if it was like they were just like, oh, it's not fully done enough, but at least like in like the northern part of the country, I think, because Heerenveen is, I don't know, I want to say 2 hours north of Amsterdam. Like everything was frozen, at least, or most things were frozen. And I mean, it was just awesome. Like, I mean, you would drive back from, like, we were driving back to our hotel, which is like 20 minutes away, and just all the canals were just people skating across, just like having fun, or like
Wow.
their lakes. And yeah, it was super sad they couldn't do it, because especially because like we were there. But
Yeah. Everyone in the
yeah,
world that matters is in one spot where this place has this
well,
one
yeah, but then
special
like they
moment.
even, I mean, they like, I think they have a lottery where like people from like the public, not well, public, just like anybody can like possibly can like do it. Like if you like your name gets chosen, because
Mm,
I mean, they don't just want people that don't know how to skate, but you have to
and
have
they
like some
die.
membership and such. Yeah. So, 'cause, I mean, it's 120 miles. I mean,
Oh my
so
goodness.
like a 5K, like if you're like decent in the world, like, I mean, like, I know a 620 is, besides the opener, like you were going 30.0 second laps, which is 30 miles an hour. So after the first 20 seconds of the race, you're just chilling at 30 miles an hour. Like that's, I mean,
You're
that's,
passing
I mean,
cars, man.
yeah, yeah,
Jesus. They're trying to
yeah,
drop their kids off at school and you're just
yeah. You're going through a school zone. It's game over. But,
oh,
so, I mean, just think about that. I mean, that would be 4 hours alone of skating. The thing is, on natural conditions, like natural, like that's on Zamboni ice, which is super smooth, like groomed. Like outdoor ice is much harsher and just softer, because I mean, just like, I don't know, speed skating rinks are like kept to like really just like no more than an inch and a half or two of ice. So
really?
like the top doesn't really get super soft. Yeah. So
Why?
it's weird. Well, just, I mean, it's faster, like it's just
Gotcha.
smoother and such. Depending, like ice isn't the same everywhere you go in the world. Like there's, I mean, it's a trippy thing about World Cups. Like this past year, we did Poland, or so like Tomaszał Mazowiecki in Poland, which is like a new rink, but it is extremely cold inside, and the ice is just super thick and just brutally slow relative to like even Norway. It's just like was just, I mean, at sea level just is naturally slower because of just air density and
Yeah.
such. But yeah, I mean, some ice is just somehow drier. It's weird to think like dry ice, not like dry ice is in where like, you put it in a shipping container to help keep something cold while like, you ship it across the country. But I don't know, just some ice gets really brittle and such just with time, and versus like Salt Lake and Calgary, which are two of the fastest rinks in the world, that are, I mean, just they keep it extremely thin, and just it's just faster. I don't know. It's lots of weird.
Where do you excel? Do you excel on the fast stuff? Or are you more just like roughing and toughing?
Just kind of anywhere. Like
Anywhere, it doesn't
I,
matter.
yeah, I mean, like you just gotta get your feel down, and then I mean, that's really the thing I was talking about earlier with like, it's only like this many minutes. Like you might have to like adjust like where, like, I don't know how many turn strokes you're throwing, like crossovers you're throwing in the turns, or just how many straightaway strokes you're doing, like on softer ice where you don't glide as
Do you
much.
count that?
Not really. I don't like count, like afterwards, after the race, I will count and just see like, all right, was I doing 6 strokes in the straightaway, like these few laps? And then I transitioned to like 8 and hopefully not 10, because that's just like, I mean, possibly like overstroking it. But
Mm.
it's just, I just try to go by feel, like, all right, what feels like right here? Because you don't want to just, I don't know, I mean, it's just all about like hitting like cues, like we call it pressure. Like when, like you set your skate down and like that carve to like push into the ice, like that's what we just call like pressure and such. Like, all right, like you feel it and then you just push off of it. Like there's not like if you stay on a push or if you don't start pushing early enough, you just start slowing down. Because I mean, if you're not putting anything into the ice, you know, the ice is just going to slow you back down. So just keeping it not like light, but I mean, just a little bit. It's like doing like 90 RPMs on a bike versus 75, you know?
Gotcha.
Like for like the same wattage, it's much easier to do 90 RPMs when you're just spinning, or it's much easier to just spin at a wattage than trying to hold it in the climbing gear, going up a 20% gradient, like
Yes.
in this, you know?
No, for sure. I've noticed that just like watching the Tour de France. I don't know if you've watched some tour.
Oh yeah. Big fan.
You'll notice when they're going up the mountains, man, the guys that are getting swept up that were in the breakaway, they're going
Yeah.
And then you have guys like, especially I know Chris Froome is like notorious for this. He's one of the greatest. He's won the Tour 4 times, I think. One of the greatest in the world. But he just
spinning.
Like he has some like a laughably low gear that he's in, basically.
Yeah.
Like that's how like some of the old timers would call it.
Yeah. It's just part of it is just being strong enough to do that. I mean, it's not like anybody in the world can just go out there and just do 400 watts so easily. Because I mean, like, you know, like Peloton commercials and such, like it shows people doing like 380 watts, just no problem. I'm just like, all right. I mean, I think that's a little bit exaggerated, but yeah, I mean, like Tadej Pogačar is just like, it's hilarious because he's just going up like world famous climbs in the big ring, just spinning it out. And I'm just like that, like I'm dying. Like, I mean, I watched the tour a ton. I mean, it's during the summer when like we're doing our base training and such, just like on the bike in the morning, like throw on the live feed. And it's a little sad sometimes. You're just like, wow, like this guy is like, I don't know, 3/4 my weight, or like, I don't know, just like only like, I don't know, a little bit lighter than I am. And he's just demolishing watts. Like it's just nobody's business. Like it's just insanity.
Just demolishing watts, bro.
Yeah.
Jeez. The tour, it is, see, like I've watched it for a while, and I definitely had like phases where like, wonder if I want to do that, because I've definitely have biking experience and like decent at it. But the thing that has always like kept me away from competitive biking, dude, is going downhill, man. Like
it can be a little sketchy.
Like I'm like, dude, going on a climb, man, that sounds so fun, bro.
It is a lot of fun.
Brutal.
Sometimes.
Just like 3 hours just going up Alpe d'Huez or whatever it is, or Mont Ventoux. But going down at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. Oh my God, bro.
Yeah. So,
oh my God.
There's like this, it's called the, I think is it the Mine Road? Or I don't know. There's a mine, like just in Park City. Like it's just above downtown Park City. It goes up to Guardsman Pass and such. And I don't know. I mean, that's where I've hit my highest speed. I think it was like 61 miles an hour.
You went 61 on a bike, dude?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. My teammate's gone like 65 on like a random road before. Yeah.
60,
it's
what?
I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I have disc brakes on my bike because it's just descending is like, for honestly, like most skaters' injuries come on the bike in the off season. It's just because just think about one car and it's over. Like you
could die, dude.
Oh yeah, like it's insane. Well, like they have cops at the bottom of it to like almost like pull over cyclists in case because like the speed limit for cars is like 30 because at the bottom of it there's a roundabout with like just all like Park City traffic going around it. Yeah, and I was just like, it was a ton of fun, but at the same time I was like, I don't know if I want to do that again. Like that was brutal,
bro.
And it's amazing just how good people can be at descending. Like one of my teammates, our distance team is 4 guys and 2 girls. And she like used to skate, like she skated for a while, and then after like the 2010 trials, she went to bike racing for like crits and such. So, but she's just insane just at going down hills. Like she's like following cars, like drafting and then passing them.
Oh my
yeah,
God,
like it's
dude.
it's
the
just
drivers are
yeah, like they have no idea she's there. I'm just like, I could never do that. I'm just
what if the guy drops his ice cream or something? He's like, oh shit, hits the brake, boom, done.
I mean, just
flips over the car, goes like 50 feet in the air, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
God. Bike handling, and then gets run over.
Yeah, bike handling going downhill is just such an insane thing. It's just like it's a lot. I mean, learning to descend is definitely just an art, and I mean, I've gotten a little bit better at it. But actually, so when I first joined that, like the national team, we had a bike camp in Boulder, Colorado before I moved out here. This is like the first time I've ever biked on a mountain, and I just like immediately going downhill, just get dropped. Like I'm just off the back. Me and my teammate from Illinois were just like, oh man, like
dude, what is this?
We suck at this, don't we?
This isn't the prairie path. What the hell?
Yeah, no, exactly, right? Like what? Like I can bike handle on the prairie path all day. Like that's easy. But yeah, it's just insane. Like the entire, I think there was one climb that was like an hour and a half long, or almost like close to 2 hours. Ton of like going up. I was just sufferfest the whole way.
Yeah.
But then going down, there was a crosswind, and I mean, we were up at goodness. Like I don't know. The top of the climb was over 10,000 feet. I want to say it was maybe 11. So, and it was just a foggy day, super cold, like, you know, like just jackets, everything's catching wind. And it almost like it, I was like fairly scared until like we got to the point where like the first place we had descended, it ran back into it. And I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. But there's just so many things to like think about, just being like, oh, like, I mean, tire pressure, is that okay with like the temp? Like, you don't like want to have your tires too high because then it just limits grip. And it like even just things like, all right, where's your foot? Like, or where's your pedal? You know, if you're turning left, you want like your left pedal in the air while like your right pedal's down. Because I mean, if your left pedal's down and you lean hard enough, like you're gonna take yourself out because like, you know, like you all of a sudden you just like use your pedal as leverage at that point, and your wheels just come off the ground.
And then you're
just slide out. Yeah, and you're over the guardrail. Yeah.
Handling the bike in a crosswind, especially descending, is like one of the scariest things. Because especially like if you're in a group and you don't know how to do it, you're losing the group 100%. Because the aerodynamics of being in like the echelon and the way and how good they are at doing it, if you don't hit that break, you will never come back. You will never come back. That's a lot of tours are won and lost in the crosswinds.
Just by like
or a lot of
Julian
tours are lost in the crosswinds.
Yeah.
And like when you're going downhill, like just for like the audience, and you're riding and the wind is coming at this side, you have to like slightly lean to the left side, right? And so if anything blocks the wind for a second, then all of a sudden you just jolt to the side and you're like, holy shit, bro. But then it comes right back and pushes you back. And then if you get the wobble, you're done, bro.
Yeah. It's just game over. I mean, it's just bike handling on flat, like no problem with. I mean, crosswinds, it's funny. Like growing up in the Midwest, like we just get crosswinds a bit more often because like no matter what, like if you do just like a loop ride, like just to say like you did a square like around like cornfields in St. Charles, like you're gonna get a crosswind at some point, and just drafting in a crosswind, like you don't realize like just you don't want to be straight back, you want to be like almost at a diagonal or slight diagonal. And one of my teammates, like he just out here, like usually would just ride alone before like joining, before like we really started doing a whole ton of group rides. And he'd be like, oh, like how many watts you push? I'm like, oh, like only like, I don't know, 200. He's like, oh, I'm doing like 280. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm just like, just slightly back of him. And it's just insane differences.
So you're drafting off him and you're doing 200 watts versus
Oh,
he's
it's
doing
just like,
280.
oh yeah, just like the difference.
That's
Like it kind of
insane.
just depends. Like it can be some pretty big differences. Probably more like 160 to like 240 or like 220 type savings, but like just as like an example.
I remember I was watching the tour one day and they were describing drafting, and they brought the statistic. It's you can be saving 30% energy while drafting,
Yeah.
which is wild, bro. Like,
Yeah.
especially at those speeds, like speed skating, like running's one thing. It's like, Then you get to speed skating. It's like, okay, there's legitimate people are in line the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you're at biking and they're going even faster, dude. And then you get to like NASCAR and it's all everyone's behind.
Oh
And you
yeah.
get
Yeah,
out of the
there's things
draft, you're
called bump
done.
drafting.
Yeah. Absolutely fascinating.
So well, yeah, it's just aerodynamics is just such a crazy thing to think
That's
about.
your passion, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like it so far. So
awesome, man. Well, I just want to wish you luck this
thanks,
this coming up. What what days are you racing? Or do you know the date and time and where we can watch?
Don't. Supposedly I'm going to be racing at like 2 a.m. Central
2 a.m.
Time.
So we're all going
like
to be up.
February 6th, I think.
February
maybe.
6th, the entire town is going to be awake at 2 a.m. watching Ethan.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure
Olympics
when the team pursuit is going to be. Like, so that's the team pursuit is like 3 rounds. Like there's a qualifying round for so like there's only 8 teams and they take the top 4 teams to the medal rounds. And then it's like 2 days later. I don't know. I want to say that's around like the 14th and such, but I honestly don't know exactly when. So,
awesome. And so the first race is it's just one race, right?
Oh yeah, it's the 5 day.
There's no qualifying or anything.
No. Everything
is go. It's
there.
just shake and bake, baby.
That is just shake and bake.
Let's go. That's going to be really exciting. How many? And that's the time trial one. So everyone's just going to be okay. And then are you qualified in a third event also?
Oh no, just the 5K.
Just the 2.
Pursuit.
Okay. Yep. So the mass start, you didn't qualify in.
I didn't. That like I don't know. I think I finished 3rd in the rankings for that, but I mean, I like won a silver medal in the mass start at Junior Worlds in 2018. So I mean, I love the mass start, but it's just not my time with that.
Not your time. Okay.
Right. Oh, like maybe we got 2 guys that have just been like lights out at it. So
let's go.
I mean, so yeah, the first spot. So I mean, like qualification was like the first person in terms of total points qualified, and then they choose the second spot. So my teammate Ian qualified in first, and then Joey Mantilla, who's he's 3-time world champion at mass start, they chose for discretionary. So I can't be too mad about that at all because he's, I don't know, 3-time world champion. So I mean, that's just awesome. Insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
I want everyone listening to go follow Ethan on all social media platforms. Give this kid some love, and then go watch him at the Olympic Games and be cheering him on.
Or do it.
Yeah. Go make us proud, kid.
Yeah, try to.
USA, right. USA, USA. Woo!